Think about how often you trust what you're doing every day is safe. Most of us don't stop questioning it. We just assume it is. We trust that if something has been part of our routine for such a long time, it must be fine. After all, if it were dangerous, someone would have warned us, right? But sometimes things we've trusted for years deserve a second look. Although many food additives are legally in the United States, research shows that chemicals commonly found in ultra processed foods may pose health risks, which is why stronger regulation is necessary. This doesn't mean that all additives are immediately dangerous, but it does mean that the system meant to protect us may not be keeping up as we think. Today, I'll first explain how food additives are allowed in the United States. Then, I will discuss the health concerns linked to ultra processed foods and certain additives. And finally, I will explain how other countries regulate these chemicals more strictly and why the United States should take actions as soon as possible. So first, we're going to talk about how food additives are allowed in the United States. So, according to the Food and Drug Administrations, thousands and thousands of chemicals are permitted to be used in American foods. So, these additives are used to preserve food, improve flavor, or extend shelf life, for example. But many of these chemicals are approved under a system called generally recognized as safe, which is also known as GRAS. So this GRAS system allows food companies to decide that a chemical is safe without the FDA reviewing it first. This means that companies can rely on existing studies or expert agreements rather than just going through a whole full approval process. So while this system was originally created to speed up food production, it hasn't really changed over time. There is also a report from the Governor Accountability Office that explains that the FDA has limited power to reevaluate these chemicals. So once they are approved, even if new health concerns come up later, they're just approved. So as a result, many of these additives can remain in the food supplies for so many years without being fully reviewed again. So this does raise concern about current regulations that truly reflect how people consume these substances today. So now that we understand how these chemicals are allowed in our food, we're gonna look at why this can be a problem for our health. So, according to Harvard Chan School of Public Health, ultra processed foods make up a large portion of the American diet. So, these foods are convenient and affordable, which is why people do rely on them every day. But there are so many research that show that diets in ultra processed foods are linked to overeating or weight gain or higher risk of chronic diseases like diabetes or heart disease. In addition, the Center for Science and the Public Interest reports that some commonly used food additives are being linked to health concerns like cancer risk or hormonal disruptions or behavioral effects in children. These findings don't suggest that eating one processed food will make someone sick, but they do raise concerns about long term exposure. In fact, CSPI explains that while these chemicals may be considered safe in small amounts, people do consume them every day repeatedly through the day. So, when these additives appear in multiple foods it's daily, those small amounts can add up over time and they may exceed what is considered safe. So this is something current like regulation don't fully talk about or account for. So now that we have seen the health concerns connected to ultra processed foods and additives, we're gonna look at how other countries handle food safety. In fact, according to the American National Standard Institute, food regulations in Europe are more cautious than the one in the United States. The European Union follows this precautionary approach, which means that additives can be restricted or banned if there are any health concerns around. So even when the evidence is not final. So because of this approach, Europe has banned limited additives such as potassium bromate or titanium dioxide and certain food dyes that are still allowed in the United States. This shows that it is possible to take action before harm becomes widespread. The Government Accountability Office also supports the need for stronger oversights in the United States, which states that the FDA has limited authority to reassess these chemicals already on the market. To conclude, many food additives are allowed in the United States under current regulations, even though research links to ultra processed foods and certain additives to other concerns. So, other countries have shown that stronger food safety standards are possible and they are effective. So, by strengthening food additives regulations, and improving this oversight, the United States can better protect public health. Food is something that people consume every single day and often without thinking twice about it, obviously. So, ensuring that these foods are safe as they expect it to be is not just something that it can be helpful, it's something that is necessary.